Hey, you're watching Just Press Record on the Cultish Creative YouTube channel. I'm your host, Matt Ziegler, and on each episode, I invite not one, but two guests to join me for a conversation-style interview. These are smart, funny, usually a little eccentric, frequently a little weird, often very online friends of mine, and even if you don't understand what they have in common at first, just wait, because I've seen some common ground between them that I've been dying to ask them about, and just press record. The show practically named itself, seriously. So subscribe, like, comment below, and stick around at the end of the disclosures, disclaimers, and reminders, and, come find me, cultishcreative.com, at cultishcreative on Twitter, and by name on LinkedIn. Without further ado, throw your seatbelts on. Let's make it a record. Okay, I am pressing record now. You're watching Just Press Record. This is the Cultish Creative YouTube channel, the show that proves anybody can talk to anyone if only there's enough curiosity. I'm your host, Matt Ziegler, and my guests today, they don't know each other, but that's a feature, not a bug. And I have some ideas for some things they have in common. So let me introduce them first. My first guest, he's less Dow Jones Industrial Average and more Dow to Ching ingeniously above average. He's as much as a jazz and R&B fan as a don't be a spaz, go get CBT stan. He's been clinical psychologist and investor, and currently he's the founder of the Pearl Institute, the Uncle Phil to everybody in the West Philly of FinTwit. Clutch your pearls. It's my man, Phil Pearlman. Welcome to the show.
Matt, great to be here. Thank you. And wonderful intro. Appreciate that a lot.
The least I can do. And now, candidly, you do not have the voice for this, so please don't misrepresent this, but you have the energy for it. You could be, try these on for size, the Fran Drescher of franchises, and this one's for Phil, the Funk Master Flex of franchises. You can ring the alarm on that one. And this one's deliberately just for you. You could be the Julie Foudy of franchises, if I'm getting warmer. We have the founder of the Flex Society, the Sal's Cheesesteak of Sells Itself Marketing Strategy at Sizzle Society, Jessica Yarmey. Welcome to the show.
Matt, I'm going to need all of that copy pasted into an email so I can update my LinkedIn header. All of that is going into my current bio.
You can have it. I'll even give you the audio file. You can play it in.
No, perfect.
The Julie Foudy, at least. Did I at least work with you on that one? Did we get that one right?
Absolutely. So Matt dropped in some soccer references, some 40 Fort, Pennsylvania references, and franchising and marketing references. So that is an all-around five-star intro, Matt.
Okay, good. Phil, I did okay by you? We're good too. Do we get I got jazz in there. I got one or two little hip hop references in. I even got some Philly in, which, we're down the road, but you're okay.
It's beautiful. It was beautiful. It was you're the last thoughtful podcast host in America.
Now, both of you kick a mean podcast game on your own rights. So we'll let that slide. All right. So I know you guys have a bunch of things in common. I want to talk health, wealth, and knowledge of self. That's another fun reference for you. I want to talk about this relationship between how we take care of ourselves and how we take care of our businesses, because you guys are both so entrepreneurial. You've been through so many of these things. You help other people on this journey. But I got to start on the opposite end of the health food spectrum. Jessica, I want to go to you first, because did you start with Burger King? Is Burger King the beginning for you?
One of my very first jobs out of school was working on the Burger King business at an advertising agency. So as a brand new marketer, I'm marketing and promoting the Burger King mushroom Swiss burger. And now I'm a vegetarian and I'm in that healthy life. And definitely my intro to the franchise marketing world was through fast food.
Did you feel the values thing? Was there conflict? Like when you were in that way?
Absolutely. I was marketing the mushroom Swiss burger, never had it, never took a bite of it. And so I'm definitely in that moment of I'm promoting things that I don't believe in. And now one of my go-to plays whenever I'm getting involved in a new franchise or a new fitness concept, I will day one go and do a class, go and see the facility. When I was chief marketing officer at Club Pilates, I went through teacher training. I'll go deep in the brands that I work with now. But back then, it was definitely a complete separation of church and state. It was, this is what I'm marketing, and then this is what I'm doing in my lifestyle. And I am so grateful now that I have combined those two paths together.
Phil,
Do you
what?
think-
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Do you
No,
think
no.
that affected your soul at the time?
That's basically my question.
I think it more so impacted my soul when I got the Venn diagram overlapped. And as I'm talking to younger people or even people that are at my stage in their career, if they haven't hit that overlap where their work is in something that they really care about and are passionate in, that's my first thing that I coach people on is just find the thing that you love to do and figure out how to monetize it. And I just feel so grateful that I've been able to work in fitness, in marketing, in franchising, in entrepreneurship since 2012.
Phil, but what about you for like, have you ever worked on something that your soul just wasn't in it? Have you felt that lack of alignment too?
For a long time.
Yeah.
And I got so unaligned, I was almost dead. Really. Like, I just did a lot of shit that I didn't love. And I did it for maybe the right reasons. And I got further and further away from myself. And then I got a job as CMO of a bank, great bank, just about killed me. Like traveling and, alcohol abuse, basically, just to medicate myself, just, horrible. And then I got out of that. So now I'm thriving, and I will never again, nor will I ever have to do anything that I don't really love and want to do.
What about the psychology of that? When you're out of alignment and you're self-medicating to try, I've lived this too. So this is not a strange thing to any of us on this call. Like, what's going on in somebody's brain when they're just out of whack like that?
I think everybody's different, but I think for some people it is torture because they're very self-conscious and self-aware at some level. I think for other people, there's an obliviousness, and I think that's a spectrum. So there's levels of sort of critical self-awareness to obliviousness, and everybody's different, but I think the level of torture, I think there's some people who could just sort of drift along forever, subsisting, and never really hit a critical moment of torture. And then I think there's other people who are just killing themselves and destroying themselves, and it just becomes too much at some point, and they either break or they bounce back.
How did you course correct from the bank subsistence, as you say?
It's a long story, and I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I will say that it got pretty bad, and then I got pretty low, and I was trying the whole time. Like, I had kids, and I was doing this thing where I was like fighting myself. That is like all the stuff I'm talking about right now is a part of our culture, that this is not unusual. Like, this is like very common. You're seeing it now. So one thing you see so often, like now I see it everywhere, and it's not just availability bias. It's like, I see it everywhere, even though I went through it, is I see people who are like really trying and then really beating themselves up, and then really trying and then really beating themselves up. And I think there's a moment where you either, one side wins, or you continue to battle, or you just like give up. I just stopped beating myself up, and the trying to get healthy side won. Thank goodness.
Jessica, how long were you in when do you feel like you finally recognized you were creating this alignment in your life between what you were focused on and like the work you were actually doing?
I ended up kind of having a crossroads moment where I had a job opportunity to go work for Crystal Burger, which was another fast food joint.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's like a movie. Could be a movie. Crystal Burger.
Or to go work for Gold's Gym. And it was one of those, I I don't want to say divine interventions, but we'll say algorithmic interventions, because I kept on getting this role served to me via LinkedIn, like, go do this, go take this job at Gold's Gym, work in fitness. You love fitness. And I saw the role 4 times before I applied for it. And when I finally applied for it, it was just that flow moment of everything fell into place. And as soon as it did fall into place, it was just such a comfortable moment of having all of those pieces overlapping and that alignment coming together. So I understand, Phil, exactly what you're saying, where like sometimes you hit those places where you're like, the hustle culture tells you just tough it out. And I think there does need to be more conversation around the fact that if it's meant for you, it should flow to you, as opposed to feeling like you're running uphill. And I've had both moments in my career, and I love the moments of flow.
Were you an athlete when you were younger, and did you get away from it while you were like in the burger wars?
I have always been an athlete, and Matt knows I played soccer growing up, which is why he dropped the Julie Foudy reference. And after I graduated college, I played soccer in college. I graduated college and hit a retirement athlete mode of running marathons. And so I was simultaneously promoting mushroom Swiss burgers and running 20 miles on Saturdays to train. And so it was definitely a misalignment kind of moment. But once you see that, you can realize that those things can come back into alignment. And now I'm so passionate about trying to help other athletes and maybe retired athletes pursue things like entrepreneurship, like follow your passions.
When's the health thing first show up for you, Phil, where you're like, the health side of the house is really important, and I want to make sure that's part of my alignment with my identity?
It showed up when I was like 5, and I was an athlete, and I was like running around crazy, always with a ball, played ball, was always playing ball all through school, trying to run fast, played lacrosse in high school. And that's when it started getting away from me, actually. And so then once I got into college, I was just partying really hard. And I lost, like Jessica, her real self never got so far away. Like she started veering down this wrong road. Man, I went so far down that wrong road. I got really far away from myself. Substances was terrible. That was really probably what got me down that wrong road. But I went so far and got so far away from it. And then as I was trying to get healthy and fighting with myself, I would be like exercising, but then drinking, and then getting away from exercising. And I was yo-yoing. And then I was really on like an upswing where I was exercising really good and had quit drinking. And this is like maybe 5 years ago. And I was reading this like Buddha for Dummies or Buddha for Beginners book or something. And this Western guy was like explaining Buddhism to other Western people who really can't grasp that, like, the yin yang thing, the white and the black and the black and the white. And he was just like, enlightenment is just remembering. And I was like, wow, that hit it. Cause I was like, then all of a sudden it was like, okay, I'm 11 and I'm like doing, racing at Wellwood Elementary against, Josh and Evan and David and Ira and the kids that were in my class. And it all came, and it was like, oh, dude, that's the real me. That was a moment that I had. I remember where I was. I was down in the Keys, sitting on a chaise lounge chair, reading Buddha for Dummies or Buddha for Beginners. That was a moment right there.
Okay, I need to layer on here because one of my ultimate books, the one that I've read multiple times, it was given to me in high school, actually, and it's Thinking Bodies, Dancing Minds. And it's the only book I've read multiple times, but it's Tao Sports for Everyday Life. And so as a high school athlete, where I was a head case and didn't have a whole lot of mindset tools, coach gave it to me. And this book just connected kind of exactly what you're talking about, Phil, where it's just like all of the things that you might pull from the Tao, like being able to pull it into your everyday life and not in a super religious way, but in a really practical way. And so it weaves together Tao plus sports plus business. And so it's been a guiding kind of principle book ever since.
Do you feel like, Jessica, this algorithmic interventions might be like the best thing that I'm going to hear in the whatever range of time I could even imagine throwing around this? You actually feel like the burger opportunities kept coming at the same time as the exercise opportunities kept coming? It was like you kept having the twofold path presented in front of you almost like over and over again? Did I hear that right before?
It was a moment though. As soon as I got to goal, then it just clicked where everything started to be aligned. But it did. My path was through fast food, through restaurant, through all of the bad things that, I don't even touch. And then it was, I don't want to say it was like a light switch, but it was a moment of stepping into the fitness industry and realizing that, oh, wow, I get to scratch that athlete itch that, I had in my past. I get to revisit, the childhood competitiveness, Phil, like to your point, like kind of reminding myself, like, here's all these things that apply in sport and apply in business. And so as soon as I got to that point, I would just say I wouldn't say it was game over because there's been some highs and lows, but the overall trajectory has been up and fast progressions because I had that alignment in place.
Phil, the same for you. The exercising, the yo-yoing, it's like these paths were converging, but it sounds like until like 5 years ago, you hadn't really just been like, oh, actually that other path, I just need to just completely get off that one. And it sounds like they just kept showing up for a minute.
My life went from like contrived and contorted to organic. Almost overnight. Like I was just like, I made up my mind and I was just like, this is what I'm doing. I started writing a newsletter just to see what would happen. And I started getting people subscribing and emails from people who were telling me I was resonating with them. And I was like, that's really good because I'm resonating with me right now. And then there was this, as a matter of fact, there was this one woman who was like, sent me this email and she said something like, I could tell you're figuring things out while you're writing. And I was like, she won the lottery. Like
Somebody saw you.
She hit me right in the jaw and I went down and it was awesome. It was the best knockout of my life. And it was exactly the case. Like I was like, I would write something and then I would like let it sit and then I would come back to it and keep writing on it. And I was figuring out, I was going through this thing. It was like a rebirth, like I'm really into like heresy and rebellion and rebirth and all of these things. And just because I went through it all myself. So I'm really, I'm just self-referential. Like I'm just going by. And I hate all the scientists. I love the scientists, but I kind of hate them too, because I think they're all full of shit, even though some of them do great work and there's replicable studies and I learn from them, but at the same time, they're full of shit. But I'm really like, I'm N of one. So I'm like learning by what I go through. And then I'm teaching that. And when I saw that was resonating with other people, I was like, oh my God. This is something really interesting happening.
I think it's an important call out because we're in this era of AI content and ghost writers and just content for the masses and content in mass. And it's interesting that you started to write and were writing from a place of authenticity and then that resonated and connected. And I think whatever you're doing, if you're in a content game or if you're just in content on the side, having an approach that is an authentic, mission-driven kind of approach as opposed to a spray and pray kind of approach is so critical, and kudos to you for being able to connect with your audience through that.
It's an amazing thing. And I know, because I know this hits closely for you, Jessica, like this whole, I want to get to some of the stuff you're currently working on inside of this too, because I want Phil to hear about this from you directly. There's also something about making decisions at hard times. This is one of my favorite things about your story is there's a pandemic and you decided it was a good time to get into what business exactly?
I started a brick-and-mortar business at the beginning of the pandemic when everybody was leaving the brick-and-mortar space. But where you as an outsider see it as a difficult decision, it did not feel difficult to me. It felt very connected to what I believe to be true about fitness, that community is a critical part of it. And the accountability of being face-to-face is a critical part of it. And I think anytime you're in those hard decisions, sometimes like from the outside looking in, it's really hard, but from when you're in it deep, it ends up kind of flowing together really easily.
Phil, what's the behavioral psychology? What's the investor or the trader mentality of, oh my God, there's a pandemic and I want to start a brick and mortar business?
I love it. It's like the time to buy fur coats is in the summer,
Yeah.
The time to buy umbrellas is when it's sunny. It's the exact same thing. Like if you start a business that's perfectly contrary to what sort of conventional wisdom is at the moment, I could not think of a better time to do it. I mean, if you start a financial business or any kind of business right in the middle of a recession, you can hire people inexpensively. Competition has just more established competition just got punched in the gut. Now is a great time. As a matter of fact, now is a great time to start a business where you're bootstrapping yourself because of all of the money that was sloshing around that is no longer. And now it's like, oh, it's famine, and all the people who were starting businesses were so used to getting so much. Now, if you're like shoestringing, so I love that. I think it's absolutely the perfect time to start that. Love it. Like,
So
hey, we're going to open a restaurant. All the rest of the restaurants are closing. It's like we're closing down. Nobody's coming. Everybody's wearing masks. Nobody's going to take their mask off. Perfect. Love it.
what do you think, Phil, too, about this idea of, because at the beginning of the pandemic, it was like we were already pushing to all community is online. And then it was like, no, it's really online. What do you think about her seeing the opportunity and going, no, I really want a physical in meet space, real people, real community, face-to-face stuff? What about that? What's so powerful about in person versus just online?
I think there's powerful things about both. And I think that they can be the same or different things. And I think that in person is more tactile, like you can touch and you can hug. It's huge and you can look in each other's eyes. But at a more even basic level, we're just social animals. And so any way that we ever connect, if we're connecting, we're connecting. So for different people at different times, my wife is a psychotherapist, and she went remote for a few years and actually flourished. Like no overhead. I mean, all you need is a Mac and a good connection, and so don't have to rent a space, none of that. And she established that business, and now she's going back to in person. She rented an office. The space is unbelievably cheap because office space never fully recovered from COVID. And because we are remote, it's the same theory as you're using. It's the same theory. It's even still true. Like you could go rent an office in New York City a lot cheaper than you could rent it 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And so I love both. And I think both, there's individual differences. We're all individuals, and some people can connect one way. Some people connect if that's your bliss, if that was the thing that you wanted to do, it's perfect because you had that vision.
Jessica, do you feel like what's in-person mean for you? Why is that and fitness so closely tied in your mind?
I have all of the apps on my phone. I have all of them because I'm in the space, and in most instances I have free access because I'm evaluating them. And so
Tell me what that means. What does all the apps mean?
meaning like you can get any workout you want delivered to your phone to do at home, body workouts, free weight workouts, running, coaching, heavy bag workouts. I mean, you could really find anything that you want. Peloton is going through this right now. Like you can get anything in the palm of your hand. You can have the coaching.
So I'm just the opposite. Like I have configured my home environment. So because I guess I'm lazy, like I don't even want to drive to the place. Like I just configured my environment so that I just can do anything I need to do, either out my back door or up in the little, gym that we created.
Well, and I think it's an interesting difference between men and women also, because men notoriously like to work out alone. They don't want coaching because they feel like they're experts and able to do on their own, whereas women want coaching and they also want community and togetherness. And so for me, being in the boutique fitness space as a female founder in the martial arts space, as a, traditionally male dominated place, I think it really allowed us to separate ourselves because we had that distinction and then also connection to what the core boutique fitness consumer is.
That's really funny you say that because people have been asking me to do like a weekend and like get a bunch of people together and take them hiking and do a dinner and have a little seminar. And I really want to do it, but I'm so lazy and disorganized that I don't want to deal with all of the logistics of it. And so the other day, it's like so light out early now. That's that time of year. So I took a few friends hiking the other morning. It was like a summer solstice hike at 5:15, 5 o'clock, 5:30 a.m. And we had this incredible good time. Like we went with a little group of us, all guys, all just bullshitting and just talking smack.
So men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but they have gym memberships on Venus, whereas Mars, we're just spread out. We're little storms in the cloud of red.
You're so much better at social and you're so much more like open to it and attuned to it. I agree with you 1,000% what you said.
So contextualize this for me, Jessica.
Like we do, but here's the thing. Within that context, we do need to bond and to connect with each other. That's why I'm going through this thing where I think I may do this thing where, it'll be like a break-even type of thing. There's, pretty good hotel not far from here, up the road. I kind of already live outside of the, north of the city. And we go up there, we have a really good meal. We do a really good hike. We do like a webinar about like, eating and body movement or whatever. And that's a thing. And I'm so I'm so lazy, disorganized. I wasn't lying there that I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do this because I don't want to have to do all the logistics. But at the same time, it is. So we go hiking. It's a great time. We're bonding, it's like that movie when the kids go on a long journey and see the dead body. What was that one called? It was like years ago.
You're literally taking us to there's the Boys in the Hood dead body, but then there's also the the moment. What's the quote?
You know what I'm talking about? It's like a kid's bonding.
The speech is it's our time. It's that movie.
It's our time.
Oh, the Goonies.
Yeah. What's that?
No, the Goonies didn't have a dead body. The Goonies had the treasure. What's the? Oh boy. Okay. Well, we're all gonna.
And there was one kid whose dad abused him.
Yeah,
There was the other kid. It was a
They go through the thing, the leech, they went forever scarred. I can't cross a creek because
That's right.
the
Can't cross
leech,
the creek.
just emotionally scarred since I was 8. Anyway, yeah, Jessica, I am just press record hiring you on the spot. If you're consulting Phil on putting together this type of event where he's going to get people together to actually like build community, what would the things he should think about to make this approachable as the owner operator of said event, but also for the people, like in service to what's the best experience they can have? You know a thing or two about setting up this type of experience.
Well, I think first of all, people are craving those kind of experiences. And so, Phil, for you to have skill sets that could support people who want those kind of experiences, I would say you're obligated to share your gifts in that way. And so definitely pursue it as a channel for you to connect with people. But if you also know that it's not necessarily a comfortable thing for you to plan a 2-day long event, tag in other people to organize it with you so you can sit in your superpowers and they can do the other logistical pieces. But my guess would be you're going to have 70% women show up for this event. Even though you are the leader and you're a man, women gravitate toward these holistic retreat kind of experiences because of the community aspect of it and because of the tribal nature of it is I will sign up for this event and then I'm going to tell my friend to also sign up for this event and she'll tell her friend to also sign up for this event. So I think that's what you would end up experiencing from an attendee perspective. And so therefore, as you're marketing it, it really is a holistically like approachable weekend as opposed to a hardcore, event marketed to the 1%ers. I think a lot of times the 1%ers, they know what they need to do and they don't want the coaching experience. So you more so want to market to people who are looking for that coaching experience.
I'm finding a lot of 1%ers out there who are suffering and who are who are well educated and know there's a chasm between knowing and doing wider than the Grand Canyon. And I'm seeing that with people who intellectually and from a resource point of view have everything they need to get going. I know I just changed the subject, but yeah, I just want to plug and play. I just want it to be like the Phil event. I do a video saying, hey, come join us in the Bang Bang Bing. And then we do it. And I don't have to do anything except for show up, give the webinar, take us on a hike. That's where I'm going. So I need a partner. You're saying I need a partner to help me do all of the other stuff that I don't want to do.
Because you're also going to want to record it in some form or fashion to maybe promote the next one. And so who's creating content along the way, all those things. And if it's not your comfort zone, then you do need a co-pilot for the event to take the things off your plate that you don't want to deal with.
It's effort zone.
It's
effort zone. It is. Thank you, by the way. I appreciate the encouragement.
Let Matt and I know when it's going to be because we will sign up and attend.
Fun. Yeah, we're doing it. I think I have a partner, by the way, too. I think I have somebody who will handle it all, do the media, do the marketing. We're not quite there yet, but we're looking like we're there. And as a matter of fact, I think we'll be there in the fall. So I think that'll be a perfect time, slightly upstate, but reachable via the city. Will be a perfect time to do it. Will be like October, late September, early October.
The change of the seasons also. It's always a good reset moment for people.
So this is one of my favorite things about Jessica talking about this stuff because she notices something like the change of the seasons inside of this. This is that marketing brain at work. And go ahead, Sean. What are you gonna say?
Like a really seasonality person? Like, are you like really sensitive to all that stuff?
I think everybody is. It's just a question of if they're in tune to it. But there's definitely science around restart moments for people. And so not just a New Year's moment, but a first of the month is a moment. A Monday is a moment. Change of the seasons. Birthday.
Turning 50. Round numbers. Oh my
Yeah.
God, rebirth. Woo! We're like,
Yeah.
Matt, you're right on putting us
Yeah.
together, because I'm like exactly the same.
But in my mind, why not try to leverage those or help people leverage those? Because any moment where somebody's inspired to make a change, can we meet them where they're at in that moment and help them get to that next step? I think a lot of people hit those moments and they don't have the tools, and then they don't make the changes. And so if we can meet them when they're at that moment and hold their hand through it and say, we got you, here's the next step, like here's how to make the change, then it has the chance of being a lasting change for people.
How do you think about
I
that?
agree
Like the,
wholeheartedly with that.
how do you think about that, Jessica? Like the actual putting yourself in a place to both meet them at the moment and have them come to you? Because it feels like a lot of like the businesses and things you've set up, by putting them in real world space, you've actually said like, I'm here for when the season's turning. You're aware that that season's turning, with an open door for you to come in. How do you contain all that in your head?
I think a lot of it is I just try to show up and show as an example, like here's how to try, here's how to push forward, here's how to grow. And I think a lot of people approach social media as just showing the accomplishment or showing the highlight reel. And I'm very much the opposite. I show, here's what I'm working on now, here's what I'm trying on right now, here's what I'm failing through right now, because those are the moments that I think people need to see and need to learn from so that they can feel comfortable in their own journey, because they will hit a point of fail or they will hit a point of frustration. And I think we all need to know that every one of us hits those same places.
Phil, I see you doing the same thing. And I think this is one of the reasons I've been reading so much of your stuff for so many years at this point. It kind of boggles my mind when I step back and think about it. You regularly, you share the hard stuff. You share the fun stuff. You make sure you're out there and talking about some of these things, more so and publicly with the Prime Cut stuff in the last couple of years. What do you think the value is in just sharing?
We're all, there's individual differences, and then there's similarities and universality and genetics all at the same time. So it's just it's a dialectic. It's not an opposition. Individual different, we're all different and we're all the same. And I think that we all experience hardships. We all experience joy and hardships in our lives. And there are threads of similarity between all of us. And so when we share something that resonates with somebody else, that's where we connect. And so people reach out to me, and they'll almost every time will say something about, I was reading, or I saw you being interviewed and you said something. And it will be something that I said that is just like in the middle of this conversation, or something that I wrote that just came out of me in a moment that was real, you know? And we just relate to each other. It's universal at that moment. We're all shared experience. We all go through similar things, and milestones and tragedy and absurdities and family, and there are all these common elements. So I think it's a shared experience. And then the other thing, so that I think that's half of it. And then I think the other half is everybody's on their own journey. And sometimes people are ready to do something about themselves. And like they know that they're struggling, or they know that they're suffering, or they know that they're spinning their wheels, or they know that and it's just like, okay, gotta try something. Maybe they've tried something before and it didn't work, and then they're trying something else. So I think it's a combination of those two things: resonating with somebody and just putting your, because it's universal, and where that person's at in their own journey.
What do you think about that shared experience meets your own independent, idiosyncratic journey, Jessica?
I love all of that. I think that's so true for so many people. And I think so much of social media goes way too far to the highlight reel, to the edited, to the, at the finish line celebratory moments. And I think it is the shared experiences, and you just never know who's looking for what in what moment. And that's where I think everyone just needs to show up authentically at whatever phase that they're at. And your people will naturally be attracted to you because of what you're saying at any given moment. And so I sometimes will post look backs at things, like learnings that I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, 3 years ago, this now clicks in my head and it makes sense. But more so I try to share where I'm at right now, because I think people do need to see that it's not all sunshine and roses. It's truly like we're all just out here doing the best we can, putting in effort day after day. And some days it works out, some days it absolutely doesn't. And you learn either way.
This idea, and I think about this for business owners, I think about it for people all the time. And Phil, I'm really curious what you have to say about this too. We think there's too many, I don't know, newsletters, and there's too many bad ones. There's too many podcasts. Yes, there's too many bad ones. There's too many things of people just friggin' mailing it in. But there's endless room for like you to be your authentic self and see who comes along that needs to hear your message or whatever else at that point in time. It might only be one other person. It might be that one person who sent you the response. But it's really important that once you find that authentic thing to put out there, that you open your mouth. What do you think about that, Phil?
When I was younger, I went to grad school for psychology. So I got out of college, I got a job teaching in a special education school. And then I went back to grad school, got my doctorate in clinical psychology, and I was a total fucking mess. Like if I had gone into psychology then, I would have hurt people and ruined my life. And so I went into finance. I had an opportunity. I was also into psychology of markets and trading. And I met a hedge fund guy and went into that instead. And, but that part of me, remembering is enlightenment. That part of me that was like, wanted to help people out was just always, that is part of who I really am. And so right now, doing what I'm doing, if I help one person, makes my year. Like if I just help one person and significantly, materially, so I just get a text message from some guy the other day. He was a client of mine last year. He was going through a divorce. He was drinking way too much. Shit show. I get a text message from him the other night. Hey, Phil, 6 months sober. I'm killing it. Thank you so much. That was the text.
All you need.
Year's done.
All you need. Infinite fuel.
I don't even have to do the hike this fall.
Right.
I won. That guy, I'm filled up every single day after that.
Well, and I think it speaks to your why being value add or helping people, as opposed to some people get into a newsletter and their why is they want to monetize it, or they want to create an email list to then sell to someone else to leverage the emails. And so I think being connected to a purpose that is authentic and that's genuine and is a good-hearted purpose is a really good place for people to start.
Life gets very simple at that point, or starts to get simple.
Yeah.
Jessica, with the business and what it is now, and there's other places you can find out about this fantastic story about the gym business, the exit, and all that stuff. But now with the new businesses now, I really feel like one of the things I'm watching you do on the internet and the things you share is helping other people set things up around not just for the business, but for that why of saying, oh, you like this gym experience, you like these things. Talk a little bit about what that means to not just do it to help one person, but then do it to show another person how to help another person too. Because you're expanding that in a really remarkable way, I think.
Yeah, I think in the last few years of my entrepreneurial journey, I've connected my why to that paying it forward place because I'm a female founder. I'm a female entrepreneur in a fitness space, in a franchising model. So I'm in a male-dominated world on top of a male-dominated business model on top of, all the things. And so I feel obligated to share, and I feel obligated to help because I have learned some lessons, and I could get so jaded by those lessons if I lead with the anger attached to those lessons. And I've really just tried to flip it in my own head to say, I have learned some things, good and bad. And if I could translate some of those learnings into helping the next person skip a few steps or have a watch out that ended up burning me, that will be that full circle moment. And that's really just how I try to channel everything that I've built and won at and then also failed at is put it into information and put it out there for free for people to learn and again try to make their journey like one bit easier than my journey was.
Do you feel it that way? Do you feel it as taking your own why, seeing other people who recognize something similar and helping enable them to just turn that frequency up through these other agents, like independent agency owning individuals?
I do see it that way, and I intentionally show up to put things out there into the world that will hopefully help somebody. My audience is sometimes I'd put podcasts out and 60 people watch it, less. And so some days I'm kind of like, am I doing this for anybody other than me? But I think there is that hope that, Phil has that kind of text message that comes back around. For me, I think there is that hope that if one nugget hits the right person, it's just going to be a helpful thing that helps them avoid some of the fails that I had along the way. And so that honestly keeps me more motivated in my content than the likes and the comments and, any of the volume of things, because there's not a lot of volume. It's just more the why around it and the fact that I get personal fulfillment by feeling like I feel like I have taken what maybe was bad and turned it into something that's good.
What is it about that transformation, Phil, about that personal fulfillment over the other things? Why is that so important?
We're so blessed to be living in an era when we have the space and the resources to be able to seek and strive for that deeper fulfillment that you just described beautifully, Jessica. And this is where we are. It's like, why not? If we're here, we don't have to worry about survival. We don't have to, day by day, like where our next meal's coming from or where we're going to sleep. And so why not go for everything? Because we're all going to die and we have no idea when. And so it's like, YOLO, we might as well. And so when you're talking, I'm hearing everything, your own two journeys, right? You're building a business, but you're also advocating for women in, I guess the Burger Game was a misogynistic, misogynistic people. And as a matter of fact, I could see that. It wasn't Burger Queen. It was freaking Burger King.
Big macho. Come on. Somebody's got to, right?
Exactly. So you've got two journeys going, and both of them are involved with helping people out in different ways. So, we're blessed to be able to do what we're doing. And, You know, I'm sure you're really aware of that. And Matt, I know
Well,
you're really aware of it too.
and I want to take that one step further and get your thoughts on this, Phil, because I used to have goals and now I just have purpose. And so when people say, what are you doing? Like, what's the plan? What's the goal? There's not. It's just to do exactly what I said on a daily basis and try to build things and stay connected to my intuition of like what's working well and what's not. And if it ends in a completely different place than I initially envisioned, c'est la vie. Like the destination is not the game. The day to day and the work and the process is the game.
Awesome. Takes a ton of pressure off
Yeah.
too. Like I'm just doing, you know, so my favorite poem goes, I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. I learn by going where I have to go. And I just like, think about that thing I must have read it 40 years ago. Think about it all the time. Like, we're just going to wake up and do our thing.
Yeah. The learn by going, that's huge. And I think it freezes a lot of people where I feel like I need to have a plan or I need to have a complete business strategy mapped out. And if they don't have it perfect, then they don't go. But it is really important to just have confidence that the learning is in the going.
I want to connect going to one other place, and that's going into endings. It's not like some weird like way to end the podcast. This is like actual going into endings because I'm repping my shirt proud here today. So that's for you, Jessica.
I love that.
This is Sal's Pizzeria. And this was one of like the 2 family pizza places that I had in my neighborhood. And Jessica too. We grew up in the same part, even though we didn't directly overlap growing up. This is one of those funny things that we realized when we found each other on the internet not long ago. Sal's Pizza made it multiple generations. Like their kids were presumably around our ages working there at the restaurant and whatever else. The family put the business to bed like 3 weeks ago. Phil, it wasn't a wise, healthy decision, but I ate cheesesteaks because this was my favorite cheesesteak in Northeastern Pennsylvania.
You know what? I'm going to be in Philly this weekend. Where do I go? Where do I take my kids? I'm going to be in Philly with my kids. Where do I go?
We have lists. We have lists.
Just
not to Pat's and Geno's. That's basically rule number 1, and rule number 2, we'll get you lists.
Okay.
We'll get you good stuff. But like I'm curious. So number 1, if you have any Sal stories, Jessica, feel free. But both of our moms worked around the corner from this place, so it made it like an essential bring home the meal from Sal's.
Nice.
What about ending something? How do you think about like ending a chapter? Because I'm telling you right now, when I went in to pick up a regular meal from them, only been back in this area for like a year and a half at this point. And like one of the kids came out of the kitchen and took me aside, like privately in the dining area, me getting takeout, to just be like the shame almost of like, I hate to tell you this, but we're closing the restaurant.
Yeah.
We're selling it to somebody else. Like, how do you think about something so special and bringing it to a close respectfully to yourself and to the people who care about it?
I had a conversation recently with someone who's doing research into driven humans and the psychology around being a driven human. And one of the things that she's kind of identified is, especially with athletes, you end your career, whether you end a high school career or you end a collegiate career or you end an Olympic dream. And there's often this come down kind of moment after you end because you've put so much in, and then what? And like, and there's a void. And as I've ended things, whether I've done it intentionally or not, and in most instances it's been unintentional, is I just have a next thing. And so after college, it was like immediate marketing career. After marketing career, it was like immediate, like, let's build something. After first exit, what's the next thing I'm going to build? And I think some people take too much time to either celebrate an ending or mourn an ending. And to go back to Phil's quote about like the learning is in the doing, just start doing the next thing. So you have a channel to put your passion into, because if you don't have any place to direct it, that's where you just sit in the void and you sit in the ending and it never feels good.
What about you, Phil? What do you think about bringing something to a respectful close to yourself and the people who care?
For me, once I learned how to quit something successfully, I quit a lot of different things. I don't even want to list them. It's just hard. But I began to think about quitting as an art and letting things go, just letting things go. Like feelings come and feelings go. Phases in our lives come and phases in our lives go. People come and people go. Our own lives come and go. And so for me, it's really just been about learning to let things go.
Did you ever read, Phil, just curious, I think it's The Art of Forgetting. Have you come across that one yet?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've ever read that, The Art of Forgetting. But that's beautiful.
It's
Right.
I've thought of this like several times in this conversation. I did a while ago. It's one of those that you read and you read a section and then like a week later, like something comes back. Because we don't,
For me,
like forgetting carries such a negative connotation to it. Like it's always forgetting is me at CVS forgetting what I was supposed to get. Or coming home being like, I forgot the almond milk for your coffee. Like, I'm sorry. Like to my wife. Like forgetting is never a positive. There's a whole book that just turns that on its head and says like, no, we actually have to learn how to forget about things proactively.
100%.
Jessica, the act of forgetting, like, so like as an athlete, as old chapters, as Big Macs and burgers, mushroom Swiss, like what does forgetting mean? What does forgetting mean to you? What's the positive side of forgetting? What's that for you?
I keep a lot of memories, and maybe I need to read the book, because maybe I need to learn to forget and to let go. But I more so have a way of taking everything that's happened, good, bad, or ugly, and using it to either motivate or to educate the next chapter. And so I feel, even looking back, you're wearing your Sal's t-shirt from years ago, the last time I went there, but I can smell it. As you showed the shirt, like immediate, it connects to my memory. And I think it's all part of the story. And as weird as my career has been, and circuitous through a whole lot of different things, it all makes sense in a look back. And so I carry most things forward, and I really just try to look back and remember the good and remember the positive, and channel and learn from maybe any of the negatives.
Anything else you'd add to that, Phil?
You know, I read this story once called The Hunger Artist. It was like a Franz Kafka thing, short story. And it was dark, you know? I mean, it was about this hunger artist who would stay in a cage and would get paid not to eat for a long period of time. And eventually he just dies because he just doesn't eat. Like he like wins the game. Like he goes the record amount of time without eating, but he dies as a result. And I think it's like it was a natural thing. And so I think in a more positive light, I just think of myself as a quitting artist, and forgetting is a part of that. So like, I'm just going to like embrace that. And yeah, I mean, what you're saying, Jessica, is also true. Again, it's a dialectic. There's things that I really learned from, and there's things that I remember about myself that are like the true me that I strive back towards or moving back towards. But there's so much, like, I just don't have a big enough brain. So, I'm just like, whatever with that. I don't even know what that was. I've gotten to be such a simpleton, but I'm just going with it, I guess.
Not a simpleton. I got some notes for us. I got to summarize some of this. We started on this alignment of self topic, and I love right from the beginning, Phil, that you brought soul into the equation here, because I think that alignment of self, that artistic expression, that thing that's separate from you inside the bodies that we all inhabit, no matter where you are in the spiritual spectrum, if you see that thing as a separation, I think is really powerful and really good to help you understand the alignment, because that's where it's and Phil, as you put it, is just that idea between break or bounce back. What are you going to do when you're out of alignment? Are you going to break or are you going to bounce back? Jessica, absolute poetry, algorithmic interventions, repeating until you learn. Yeah, my wife is going to get a real good laugh out of that term. Phil, you brought up this from contrived and contorted to organic, a rebirth. I have to share with you at my home workout room, because I don't work out with other people. And I didn't even realize this whole thing. The thing on the wall, it says, "Ye must be born again," right above the mat.
Beautiful.
So there's that. Resist the content for the masses. Phil, your N over one thing, or your N of one idea. I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing. But then, Jessica, as you brought it in too, the connection as the core of being human, the coach that's in the palm of your hand, but you still won't do it, versus the environment that's controlled around you that says, no, like you can do it. All of us, again, it's that gap. It's about being called into a space where you're actually going to have the agency, have the authority, have the authenticity to express yourself. Jess, you brought up about meeting people with where they're at. I love this idea, being the change point that you set up, almost, whether it's in a brick and mortar store or not, you're inhabiting the change point so that people have visibility to you to see you. And Phil, you added to that saying, we're all different. We're all the same. All the hardships, all the joy, all the stuff, it's just threads. It's authenticity as the bat signal. It's your journey or your shared experience and that expression of the two. We brought it almost to a close there with this. You never know who's looking for what or when. Remembering is enlightenment. I'm going to add on top of that, forgetting is also enlightenment. Jessica, you said, I used to have goals. Now I have purpose. What's the goal? There is none. I love that so much. And then we closed on this. Always needing to say, when it's time to end, it's time to think about the next thing. You got to learn how to quit. You got to learn how to let go. You got to learn how to forget. You got to learn how to love things and love what you do. So to Phil, the quitting artist, to Jessica, the carry it forward athlete, thank you so much for joining me today. Jessica, tell the people where they can find you if they want to learn more about you.
All of my socials are at Jessica Yarmey. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of them, they're at Jessica Yarmey.
Go follow Jessica. She's doing amazing things, putting amazing stuff out there. Phil, what about you? Where can people find you?
Man. I'm right here.
This is the amazing thing. Phil means that. He's literally right there. You can go on the website. You can go to the Pearl Institute. You can set up a call.
P. Pearlman on Twitter. You could get me there during the week.
There you go. Guys, thank you so much for this time. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thanks for joining us. Like, comment, and hey, subscribe below to Cultish Creative on YouTube if you haven't already. As the good compliance people want me to remind you, Matt Ziegler, that's me, is a managing director at Sunpoint Investments. The opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Sunpoint Investments. No information on this podcast should be construed as investment advice. Securities discussed in the podcast may be holdings of clients of Sunpoint Investments. I hope you've been entertained. I hope you found this useful. I hope you talk to a professional before you try any of this stuff at home. And most of all, I hope you've subscribed. Be nice to each other out there. And don't forget, head over to cultishcreative.com and let's make curiosity a habit together. And I'm out.